خیلی افتخار میکنم که خانم فرناز جان دعوت من قبول کردن. یه بایه کوچیکی ازشون میگم و راجع به موزیک and sound therapy صحبت خواهیم کرد. It's really exciting and ایشون registered architect هستن California Architect Board و Master of Architecture رو از University of Maryland گرفتن. Bachelor of Science in Architecture at University of Maryland, Master of Sound Healing, Awakening Wellness Center in Sedona, Arizona, Healing with Sound Color Movement at Tama-Do Academy, Malibu, California, Sound and Vibrational Healing Level 1 and 2, Awakening Wellness Center, Sedona, Arizona, Sound Bath Practitioner, Los Angeles. ایشون جزء founder and board of director many organization هستن. 2 book publish کردن. Wisdom of Wild Ones اکتبر 2021 میاد بیرون و Love Frequency خیلی ممنون من خوندم اونو، بسیار قشنگ و جالب. May 2021 publish شدش and ایشون مقاله‌های متعدد توی مگزین‌های California Home and Design، Los Angeles Times، We're Los Angeles، South Bay Magazine، Interiors، Architectural Digest، Interior Design نوشتن و خیلی خوشحالیم که ایشون به ما جوین کردن. پدرشون و مامانشون رو میشناسم. پدرشون رادیولوژیست هستن و مامانشون معلم خوب و گرداننده مدرسه فارسی خانه ایران هستن. خیلی ممنون. فرناز جان با اجازت شروع میکنیم.
خیلی ممنون خانم مدنی که منو دعوت کردین و از همگی شما که امشب اومدین to participate. با اجازه شما باید به انگلیسی صحبت کنم بقیه مدت که بتونم درست حرف بزنم راجع به
No problem.
I'm going to share my screen. You heard my introduction and you're wondering why is an architect talking about music and sound healing? So about 5 years ago, I got involved in through just personal experimentation with sound and the healing effects of sound. And I started doing different levels of training with different facilitators. The world of sound therapy and music therapy is so vast that I'm really only going to touch on one aspect of it. So by no means am I an expert in this subject. I'm going to present the way that I have learned and used sound therapy for myself and to facilitate others. So in terms of the training and certifications, I have several, but it's really through experience that I am sharing this information with you tonight. So we are going to start with listening to a piece of music that I've pre-selected. I encourage you to, it's about a minute long. I encourage you to listen with your eyes closed. The reason for that is to fully feel the effects of the acoustic effects of the music and to really listen without the eyes, the senses, the sense of sight. So after we listen, if you'd like to write down anything, if you would like to take a note or just take mental note on how you felt after and during listening to this piece of music. If there were physical sensations in your body, if there were emotional sensations or mental images or memories that came up when you listened to this piece. So I'm going to play it. So, what is music and sound therapy? So, essentially, what I'm going to talk about today is the use of music and different aspects of sound as they're used around the world to improve human wellness. So, when I say human wellness, we're talking about the effects on the physical body as well as the emotional level. So, sound as a healing tool is nothing new. This has been around for thousands of years. Humans have always known the effects of sound on well-being. And today, what we're going to talk about in terms of the healing aspects of sound and music may involve listening, singing, chanting, moving, dancing, meditation, or even actively playing instruments if you're a musician or if you're dabbling in becoming a musician. As an overview, I'm going to talk about the history of sound healing a bit, scientific research, as well as different sound therapy methods, whether they are passive or active, and the properties of specific instruments and how they affect us. If anyone has a question, please feel free to interrupt me at any time. So as a very brief history, the roots of sound healing and sound therapy go back over 40,000 years. That's what we have record of. And before that, before the records, we know that sounds in nature and the human voice, humming, singing, chanting, were always around before there were any really any instruments. The Tibetans and Himalayans used to use their singing bowls, the metal ones, I don't know if you've seen them, and gongs for spiritual ceremonies. The Egyptians use sound in two ways: incantations, or what you can call using prayer or repetitive mantras to bring in good energies and healing energies, as well as there are some very interesting documentaries that I can recommend where the studies are showing that the pyramids, the Great Pyramids in Egypt, some of the chambers were used for healing, and these different chambers were tuned to specific frequencies of sound. The Greeks in Aristotle's time, they used flutes and lyres for healing the mentally ill. So I'm going to fast forward to more modern times than scientific research. So in the late 1700s, there was a physician in the UK that started doing research on the effects of music on sick patients, essentially. This is before there were instruments, or that before they had access to instruments. So they would literally play different sounds. I'm sorry, not before instruments, before recorded instruments. So they would take live instruments, go bedside to the patient, play different notes, and then see what kind of physiological responses resulted. So the cardiac output, pulse, respiratory rate, blood pressure, that sort of thing. And what this physician found was that music clearly affected the parasympathetic nervous system. So our nervous system is composed of the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. So the parasympathetic is the rest and digest. It's involuntary. And that's really the level of the nervous system that sound and music have a significant effect on. In the 1990s, there was extensive research done by NIH on the human biofield. They believe that the magnetic field of the heart, as well as the magnetic and electromagnetic fields of the brain and heart, create this biofield around the body. And sound is one tool that can help manipulate the frequencies inside of this biofield. On the brainwave level, sound affects, has the potential and has the ability to change our brainwave states. So what we're in most of the time, especially living in Los Angeles with all of our busy schedules and lives, we're in the beta range. That is the alert when we're driving, when we're working, when we're doing any kind of critical thinking, we're in the beta range. When we're calmer, or when we're meditating, or when we're in the flow, and by flow, I mean if you're a dancer and you're dancing and you're really not thinking about anything else, you're just focusing on the movement of your body and the music, or if you're an artist, you're painting, if you love to cook and you're doing that kind of activity and you're fully immersed, that's when we are in the alpha range. We must be in the alpha or theta range for any kind of cellular healing to occur. So all of these studies on meditation and why we should meditate and what it's good for, they all show us that by being in the alpha brainwave state, that's when the parasympathetic nervous system is able to do its job. The theta is one step beyond that. That's more of an inward journeying. I would say that's the feeling that we have sort of when we're in between, we're almost asleep or we're almost awake. Usually that's the theta range of the brain waves, which music can help induce that as well. And delta is sleep. So we won't talk about that. One of my teachers that I learned sound healing from, his name is Fabian Maman. He is in his 80s. He lives in Malibu, California now, but he's a French. He was a musician, a professional musician for many years, and he became interested. He was also involved in Qigong and studying some ancient ways, but he did get really interested in the effect of music on the human cell. Eventually, he went on to become trained as an acupuncturist, and he started incorporating music and sound into his acupuncture practice. But for the last 3 decades, he's really dedicated his life to the research, the scientific research of the effects of music and sound on the human cells. So on the left, the one closer to the text, where it's mostly blue, this is a healthy human cell under the microscope. To the right is what the cell looks like when there's music being played in the room. These are all different images of healthy cells responding to the notes of the chromatic scale or the musical scale. As you can see, the cells are lighting up. They're dynamic, the colors are beautiful. And he found that every cell, as they studied different human cells under the microscope, that every cell responded to a fundamental note on the chromatic scale. So, for example, although the cell would light up, no matter what type of music was being played, there was one particular note for each cell that made it light up even more brilliant and bright and beautifully. Lastly, he found that in addition to the instruments, when the human voice was heard by the cell in the form of a person singing, that the cell would turn pink. And we all collectively as human beings recognize pink as the color of love. So I think this is really beautiful. So there are different types of sound therapy. We are talking about music so far, but there's guided meditation using voice, chant, or repeating mantras. So those have been used throughout, ancient cultures, religions, different things you're all familiar with. There's also tuning fork therapy, brainwave entrainment or binaural beats, and I can go more into this if it's necessary, and some others. But in the work that I'm talking about and in the work that I do, I'm really focusing on music, voice, tuning forks, and brainwave entrainment. So the effects of sound on the physical body, and this is per scientific research, this is not opinion. It lowers blood pressure, improves sleep, aids pain management, and then reduces the risk of heart disease and stroke. In terms of mental and emotional effects of sound therapy, it reduces the symptoms of anxiety, depression, and PTSD, improves behavioral disorders, focus and memory, and it promotes mind-body harmony and restores balance. So different instruments have different properties. So they sound different, of course, we know that. But in the way that they're used in sound and music therapy, they have a different effect. So, for example, the tuning forks that I mentioned, they are pure sound frequencies. So they really affect the human biofield. When I showed that diagram at the beginning, that showed kind of the magnetic field around the human body, the tuning forks really help to neutralize and balance that field of the human body. Singing bowls like pictured here, they can be crystal like these are, or they can be made out of metal, which are the Tibetan singing bowls. They are all tuned to specific notes of the chromatic scale as well. Percussion instruments like drums, gongs, chimes, they work on a more primal level. So they help to kind of release stagnant energy. They help to break down blocked emotions and help to release them. Strings like the harp or violin or guitar, depending on how they're played, they're very soothing and calming. They also tend to stimulate our creativity. And then there's other instruments as well. I could go on, but in addition to the different instruments and their properties, different genres of music have different effects. Different types of music, like a love song is going to, or a sad song is going to have a different effect than if you're listening to classical music by Bach. So every type of music serves its purpose. As for the benefits, I talked about the physical and emotional well-being that it promotes, but there are really no risks. You can't go wrong, you can't hurt yourself. Music heals everybody. So in more recent years, in the mainstream, music and sound have become more popular as a meditation practice. So it's a tool, just like there are other meditation tools. There are different methods, which if you find a certified practitioner, they will use a combination of methods. But with like any other meditation practice, if you want to use music or sound as a meditation practice, your intention is what really matters. So when we listened to that first piece of music at the beginning, and I asked you to consider closing your eyes, that is a part of the intention. So if you listen to a piece of music and you want the effect to be enhanced focus, then you listen with the intention of the music enhancing your focus. If you are doing it because you want to dance and you want to release energy and express yourself in that way, then that's your intention. And why music? Well, music's been part of the natural cycle of the planet and all of life, including human life. It's based on the rhythm and harmony, which has always been in nature, and it's what we seek in our daily lives. So how do you incorporate sound or music therapy if you are considering it? Most of you probably listen to different kinds of music, so continuing to do that. Singing or humming are very calming. If you think about an infant or a child who is fussy, I remember this happened with my children. The moment that you pick them up and you hold them and you start singing to them, they calm down. And they're not just hearing with their ears, they're feeling the vibrations of the music move through their bodies. So our bodies are more than 70% water. So when we are in a place and there's acoustic sounds, they move through every cell of our bodies. So that's where the research comes in on the effects of music on the cells. If you play instruments, you know, that is another way to practice sound therapy. Most musicians, or even people that don't consider themselves musicians, but they have a beautiful voice. Maybe you don't even have a beautiful voice, but you just enjoy singing. It's very therapeutic. In addition to all of these, you can attend a group sound meditation event, or sometimes they're called sound bath, sometimes it's called sound healing. But here in Los Angeles, there are many resources for it. Feel free to ask me. I can point you in the right direction. Or you can schedule a private sound healing session with a trained facilitator, which is also something that I do. The private sound healing sessions are, it's more like going to a psychotherapist because you have a problem. So with a trained practitioner, they can use the instruments that they have, that they're trained in, to sense where in the biofield there is an imbalanced frequency. And they use the instruments and specific notes to help bring your entire being back into balance. So for the closing exercise, I'm going to have you listen to a longer piece of music. I really do encourage you to close your eyes for this one. And it's mostly instrumental, but at some point there is human voice. And I encourage you to listen with eyes closed. Just let the whole day go. Whatever has happened in your day, this is the very last thing you're gonna do. And then I just want you to relax. I don't know how the quality of the music is over Zoom. Hopefully you were able to experience it close to what I was.
Thank you very much. Yeah, the quality gets lower than what we desire. Thank you.